Hi there, we are now in week 4 of season 1, 0 hour for Battlefield 2042. It's about time to put together the top 5 weapons right now. I wanted to really take my time and try the new weapons, as well as the old with the latest changes of balance. It surely has delayed this video a bit, but I think it's time well spent. In this video, I'm going to tell you about the top 5 weapons of Battlefield 2042 in season 1. Starting with number 5, then number 4, and so on all the way to the best weapon right now. I'm also going to explain my favorite setup for each weapon, why and how I think it should be played. If you have visited my channel or seen any of my videos as of late, you might be aware that I like to do a little bit more in-depth videos about each weapon, including some facts about the real-life version. This video will however not contain anything like that, it would be far too long. Instead, I'm going to speed things up a bit from here, making sure each weapon takes about 1 minute or so. Before we get going though, consider giving this video a thumbs up should you find it useful at all. Also make sure to subscribe to not miss out on videos similar to this. Alright, let's get going. Starting with the 5th weapon on my list, it was actually quite hard. The top 4 are pretty distinguished from the rest, but top 4 would sound so odd, wouldn't it? My 5th best weapon in season 1 is the 12M auto. Yes, the modern shotgun. It's not all out crazy or anything, but it does a lot of damage when up close and personal. With a drum mag you can extend the killing spree to maybe 3 or 4 enemies, or even more on a lucky day. Exposure is the typical map at the moment, and we can safely point out that if you run this weapon and you are lost around A2 or the Fs, you probably want to have gadgets providing damage at range. Something like Liz rockets or M5 recoilless. Both are primarily intended for vehicles, but works very well as counter sniper measurement, which really is the weak spot for the 12M auto. Speaking about the Liz rockets and M5 recoilless, how come they are not on this list? Because they aren't... well, they are gadgets and abilities, which doesn't really qualify for a list of weapons, does it? Focus. I played the 12M auto with factory barrel as I like the balance performance for this weapon. To get as good visibility as possible when up in the face of my opponents, I used the 8R hollow sight. Sights are always very personal, so pick whatever suits you, but I doubt anyone likes a lot of zoom for the 12M auto. I actually hip fire most of the time anyway. You should of course use the buckshot drum mag as soon as possible, but the default mag isn't that bad either. Flechette is tempting, but I'm yet to see any performance boost with it. After trying with a few different weapons, I'm fairly sure that the LS1 laser sight is the best buff of hipfire, probably because it makes you more detectable than just having a different grip. Moving on to lucky number 4, which is the MP9. It's one of the most powerful SMGs, and it has a decent ability at medium range as well. This makes it suitable for most locations and absolutely melts enemies in the tunnels. Recoil is nearly non-existing, the fire rate is high and ammo capacity is great. There is little downside to this weapon other than I already have tier 1 with it. I play the MP9 with tactical compensator. That should normally be the go-to solution for full auto weapons. Normally I use the Fusion Holo, but when firing at a bit longer range, the Maul Hybrid can come handy. I love the close combat rounds as they improve both recoil control and rate of fire. Use the drum as soon as you can or bring the extended. Having standard issue extended mag as a final backup is a rather good choice. As with most weapons, the BCG light grip is the way to go. It provides a very consistent experience, and yes, I do add a lot with this weapon. Hipfire is usually reserved for when within 10 meters or so, but I don't switch grip and I usually don't plan for those occasions with this weapon. Keeping up the tempo, number 3 on my list is the assault rifle M5A3. Which with my setup is close to an SMG. It's not restricted to the classic SMG range of games of old. In Battlefield 2042, SMGs are potent at medium distance as well, tapping into that assault rifle range. My theory is to put everything to make the rate of fire as high as possible with this one, which simply makes it great. Every time I doubt its capacity, I try it and it just melts people. It's perfect for a map like Exposure as long as you keep away from the vast fields between A2 and F. My setup of the M5A3 is the short barrel, always, all the time. The Fusion Holo sight for good visibility, or the TV2X sight when my glasses aren't strong enough. I always use close combat rounds which provide both recoil control and rate of fire. I also have high power and standard issue in my pack, but I pretty much never change unless I run out of bullets. The BCG light grip is the way to go, as we want to play as much as possible. Ever since the release of the beta, the K30 has been an absolute beast. The only thing that cools it off a bit is that the ammo capacity is very low in its default shape. You need to unlock a few upgrades to be able to really make it pop off, but once you have done that, you have a very clear runner-up. Extreme rate of fire, high ammo capacity and low recoil at short to medium range makes it the absolute best weapon for very short range. A few meters more and the MP9 and the M5 catch up a bit. At medium range, you are getting beyond the most effective range of this weapon, but it can still hold its ground for a while. At long range, it's absolute garbage. You should normally avoid that as much as you can. But I mean, it's an SMG. I set it up as a mixture of high ammo capacity and control, which results in tactical compensator. The negative effect of recoil control isn't that apparent. If you feel it too much, you are probably standing too far from your target. Move closer. The Fusion Holo is the only sight I use with the K30, and you want to have as many bullets as possible in the mag, so standard issue drum mag if possible. Finally, the BCG light grip. I rarely hipfire this weapon, I like to have a little bit more control. We are down to number 1, the best weapon right now in Season 1. As you might expect already, it's none less than the new BSV-M. Key to being successful with this weapon is to activate full auto, at least for most of us. It's not an unlock or anything, you can do it right away. It's just not in that firing mode by default. Remember, you have to redo that at the start of every round. Tedious, sure. What makes the BSV so great are a number of things. At almost any range, you can kill the enemies with 2 to 4 shots if you use high power rounds. There is no real bullet drop and the bullet velocity is not too bad. You could use close combat rounds and get a very high rate of fire, but then you need really pepper your target. I don't really think that mode gets the best out of the weapon. All in all, you get a weapon that is good in close combat, but also great at distance. It's a very complete weapon, and the only thing keeping it back really is the ammo capacity. Not only the number of bullets in each mag, but also the total number of bullets you can carry. With this weapon, you shouldn't get too far from an ammo crate, or you need to loot all the players you kill. One loot gives about 10 bullets or so, and it can be quite hard to reach if your target is some 100 meters away or more. My setup is a balance of control and damage output per bullet. I don't believe in as high a rate of fire as possible for this weapon, and while it's fairly capable, I don't really believe in long or very long range with it. Keeping it to less than 150 meters is generally a good thing aside. Short barrel increases rate of fire, which you generally want with high power rounds. When picking targets at about 100 meters or so, I tend to switch to long barrel, but not always. If you've seen my video about the BSV, you will notice that I've changed my preference for sights. Now I use the UH1 Smart 1.5x sight, which I think provides good visibility and simply just suits me. For targets at around 100 meters or so, I switch to M22 3.5. If your target requires more zoom, consider just leaving it. Landing 3 shots at a great distance is tricky unless your target is incapable of moving. High power rounds are the way to go. Subsonic high power is surprisingly good, so it's not the end of the world to carry those for a while. I also keep them as a backup. Finally, I use the BCG light grip. This is really a weapon you want to add. The hip fire is rather horrible actually. That was my entire list. Did you enjoy it? Do you agree? Make sure to write and let me know. Until then, see you on the battlefield. Cheers!
Being